This is Heartrepreneur Radio, maximizing your personal and business results by leading with your heart. With your host, Terri Levine. Listen every week as Terri tackles the topics that will help you become a successful heart-centered entrepreneur. Be sure to read the blog posts at www.heartrepreneur.com/blog. Come back often and add this show to your favorite RSS feed or subscribe in iTunes. You can also follow Terri on Twitter at MentorTerri and on Facebook.com/Heartrepreneur Terri Levine. And now here's Terri.
Hi there and welcome. It's Terri Levine here at Heartrepreneur Radio, Heartrepreneur TV. Really glad that you've tuned in once again and just asking you to be fully present and intentional to allow whatever information is supposed to flow to you from our hearts to your heart. I'm really glad to have you. So I have a very special guest today. His name is David Ciccarelli. He's the co-founder and the CEO of Voices.com, which is the largest online marketplace for voice-over products and services in the world. And for the last decade, David, with the help of his team, has grown Voices.com literally from the ground up to become the leader in the voiceover industry. So if you want to be the leader in your business, shortcut it, do it fast, pay close attention. David, welcome here to Heartrepreneur Radio and TV.
Oh, glad to be here, Terri. Thanks so much for the opportunity.
Well, I'm excited to have you. So first, I'm curious, what was your background or what is your background before you started Voices.com?
Well, I'm actually an audio engineer by training. So I went to school learning how to record and edit and produce music and sound really for all imaginable purposes. I started a small recording studio when I graduated from a program. And I actually got my name in the local newspaper on my birthday. And that's when I met Stephanie, my dear wife. And we started working together. She was a classically trained singer, so she'd sing at weddings and special events. And she came into the studio to record her singing repertoire. But that's how we ended up meeting and realized, it wasn't long before other small businesses would contact me in the studio and say, I need a phone system recording. Can you help me out with a radio commercial? And we're looking for a female voice. So I would bring Stephanie back down to the studio and we'd split the money. I'd be the engineer and she'd be the voice talent. And that's really how it all began.
Wow, that's fascinating. By the way, as I listen to your voice, you have an amazing voice. It's got so much resonance. I love it.
Oh, thank you. Well, as I said, I kind of position myself and think about more of the Wizard of Oz behind the screen as opposed to a voice talent. But,
get that.
It's more than just talking, that's for sure.
Yeah. So talk to me about what happens at Voices.com. What kind of voiceover products and services do you provide and to whom? I'm very curious.
Yeah, well, we describe it as a marketplace, right? And there's lots of freelancer marketplaces that are really connecting kind of the buyers. It could be a small business that's looking for graphic design, or in this case, a voiceover. Or we also connect those same buyers, or we call them clients, with the professional voice talent. And these are people who have a background in, could be Broadway or theater, could be singing, but often it's acting in some type of performance. And so the voiceover products range from, as I mentioned, commercials, short video explainers, which are very popular nowadays, kind of 30 or 60 second explainer videos, through to kind of more mundane and industrial in nature, like corporate training videos, or maybe even phone system recordings. So anytime you hear the human voice, the fact is somebody's going into a studio or working out of their home-based recording studios and breathing that script to life.
So let's say somebody has a website and they want it to be, very interesting when somebody first comes, and maybe they have some imagery or something. Can you do voiceover for something like that?
Sure. I mean, one of the things that we've seen to be pretty effective is either a video on a landing page or actually having these kind of explainer videos just hosted on YouTube. So we've even seen where clients will take, small businesses and business owners will take something like a help guide or maybe a white paper that they've written or some of their more popular blog posts and let's call it repurpose and repackage that into a video with still or moving images and a compelling voiceover that really tries to guide that viewer along, and usually make some type of call to action at the end of that video. Maybe it is give us a call, maybe it's again drive that traffic back to the website, or fill out a request for lead or for more information, fill out some form. So the voice isn't necessarily kind of an auto playing. And frankly, I would discourage against an auto playing video. But there are, if you can let that visitor initiate the action, then they really have control over kind of what they're viewing, what they're seeing, what they're hearing. But it is definitely one of the, I'm going to say, less utilized digital media form factors. Digital media is either audio, video, images, or text. It kind of all boils down to that. And audio is, as I say, is often kind of forgotten or considered as an afterthought because I think it's sometimes a lot more difficult. A lot of people don't like to hear their own voice. Maybe they can make a logo or, take some pictures. But when it comes to having their brand kind of, as I say, kind of come to life through sound, what does my brand sound like? And you almost don't even know where to start. So we at least try to provide a community of voice talent who can at least lend their voices to the brands that are out there.
Brilliant. It spurred something for me. I have all my clients write what we call a consumer awareness guide. And it's like, carpet restoration, the top 10 mistakes people make when looking for someone to do carpet restoration. And then, it talks about the mistakes, and then it says how to connect with the client, and no matter what industry. And sometimes people's reports are very long, and there's people who really don't want to read them. However, I think there's a lot of people who would want to hear them or listen to them with some exciting graphics to go with them. So I just got inspired. That's a great idea for all my clients and for me to do. So that's awesome. I love to learn. Now, let me ask you, how did you grow a company so fast? Because here we are, ground up, and boom, you're the leader in what, 10 years or so? How did you do that?
Well, I think one of the things, if I may, that I think we got right is that we stuck to one niche market. We didn't try to be a general freelancer platform.
Yep.
We actually picked one creative service, that of voiceovers, and just went really deep on that. And so there's actually 12 different genres or categories of voice. I mentioned a few of them off the bat, but there's also, as you said, podcasting or audiobooks, different kinds of videos that are done for different types of businesses as well. And so I think picking a niche market and just trying to really lead and own that space. That means getting to know all the key players. That means, and that might be mapping out who are the 20 most influential people within that industry, and then trying to build relationships with them. And of course, now you can, just by sending them a LinkedIn message and seeing if you can do a quick call or a conference call or a video chat. Another thing that I think we did well is we put a lot of emphasis on search engine optimization. We're based out of Toronto in Canada, in a kind of a mid-market city. There's about 500,000-600,000 people in our city called London, Ontario, Canada.
I know London.
Oh, good. So you'll know that it's kind of between Detroit and Toronto, but it's not a metropolis in and of itself.
Right.
So in order to overcome that, knowing that we weren't necessarily going to be traveling to see our customers, there weren't a lot of customers here in the city, that we're going to be really entering into a global market. And so how do we do that? We have a great online presence. We were early in building up a social media presence as well too. And I think those are some of the things that no matter kind of what business you're in, try to find one or two maybe marketing channels, I would call them, and just completely own those. Now, for maybe a retail business, it might be signage, or it might be some flyers that they're sending out, or a newsletter, or a printed newsletter. Other businesses, ours, because we're digital by its nature, it kind of makes sense that we would put a lot of emphasis on digital marketing, namely search engine optimization, as well as social media. So those are some of the things I think we did right at the beginning. and Terry, and then it also comes down to being able to finance that growth. And so we started off by borrowing a small bank loan of actually $30,000 and paid that off early, and then got $50,000 and then paid that off early, and built our way up to borrowing $2 million of what I would call working capital to continue to fuel the growth and accelerate the growth. And it was the year before last, actually, we raised $18 million from a private equity group of Morgan Stanley, the global investment bank. So I think, what they really enjoyed about the investment thesis was that we, again, stuck to one niche market and just found an area where there wasn't a lot of other, let's call it competition. It was very much kind of the traditional way of hiring a voice talent, working through talent agencies and unions and going in person in recording studios. And really, let's call it digitizing that entire process and bringing it online. And so I think, having a high degree of conviction, hopefully is what you're hearing through this, of that space, being excited about whatever it is, and then figuring out how you're going to market that in a way where there isn't a lot of other competition, that you can really lead the way.
Brilliant. I heard so many good gems in there, just a couple to sum up for folks that I really want them to take. Number one, you have to have the right capitalization. I still believe, in all the years I've been doing this, the biggest reason people fail is they're going to business and they're undercapitalized. So that's one. Two, stay in your lane. One focus, one goal, the right niche, and then the search engine optimization, reaching out to people on social media. 90% of our business comes in through social media, and it is by us reaching out and contacting and offering chats and help. So I hope that our viewers and our listeners are really taking this in and taking this to heart. And then you mentioned some things that I certainly know, many of my clients can use. Help with podcasts. Many of them have written books, ebooks, and they haven't also made them auditory. And there's a lot of people in the world, like me, who are more auditory learners. So this is an important thing to remember. I'll just tell you, David, somebody sent me a very long email a few days ago, and I set it aside and said, I'll read it in a few days. And then they sent it to me through a video, and I clicked on it and watched it instantly. And I wasn't watching the video per se. I was actually doing some other work. I was listening, and that's how I learned. So do you find that a lot of people are more auditory?
Well, I'm not saying, I agree that it's a portion of the population certainly is auditory. I'm not sure it's the majority, but definitely one of the beauties about the medium is that you can do other things at the same time, be it driving, be it housework, be it, taking care of the kids on the weekend, and maybe you have, you're watching them at the park, but maybe somebody's listening at the same time. Like you, I actually listen to a lot of books. It's how I probably consume most of my books. Is I have about 900 audiobooks on my iPhone, and I listen to the same ones over and over. I really, really do enjoy it. And so I think in a similar way, if that if a business is considering, how do I market differently than my competitors, if they're all writing, and you have an opportunity to create a podcast, that's something where,
if you have any challenges in your business and you want some business advice and help, we're here to do a customized blueprint to help you overcome your biggest business challenge. Send an email right now to Terri, Terri, at Terri Levine, Levine, and we will tell you how to get your customized business blueprint. We are truly here to help you.
People search on iTunes, in Google Music, on Spotify, podcasts. These are search engines in and of themselves. It's just that people are looking for auditory content. Now, the real beauty of that is not only can they do something different, but they're also listening for longer, a 20 or 30-minute experience that they really feel like they get to know you and build that trust. That is vastly different than quickly scanning through an article of a couple hundred words. So there's really a lot of special things about the auditory channel, and creating a sonic brand over time of like what your business sounds like is something that hopefully the entrepreneurs listening today will consider.
That's brilliant. Now, how do you match up the right talent with the right message or the right person? I'm very curious about that.
Well, there's a community of 500,000 voice talent on voices.com. So you might be wondering,
What?
how do you find kind of the needle in the haystack, right?
Yeah.
And so it all starts with what we call a job posting. The job is really what you need to get done. So in that, you'd be describing kind of the, the title of your project, but really getting to the matching process. It's the language that you're seeking, a particular accent, the age range, the gender, and then we get into what we call the role. Is this person a superhero? Are they a sports announcer? Are they a corporate executive, a trainer, a professor? What is the role that's being performed? And then finally, the style. How do you want them to sound? Are they funny? Are they sarcastic? Are they serious? These attributes we take at that job posting and match them up against those profiles and invite the most qualified people, those talent who say that they either can do those qualities and have those capabilities. And they will be invited to what is known in the industry as doing an audition. And that audition is actually recording a piece of your script. So usually it's 30 seconds or so. And they'll also provide you with a quote of how much they're willing to do the work for. So they'll quote on that. And you can hire them right through the platform. But that matching is one of our secret sauces, if you will. We call that voice match, and it's really an algorithm that recommends who are the best talent for your particular project.
I love that, the voice match concept. It's just absolutely brilliant. I remember a few years back, we were running a commercial on radio. And when I sat down with the radio station, they said something that has always interested me. So maybe you can address this. They said, oh, it's going to be much better for you to have a male voice than a female voice. And I never really understood what the rationale was. Is there some rationale that sometimes you'd have a male voice, sometimes you'd have a female voice? There's something to that?
I think it's the most important thing is being reflective of your brand. So some brands are, and who are you trying to reach? So think about, just like you would be doing any other marketing, you're kind of picturing your ideal customer or your ideal client in your mind. And what do they look like? What do they sound like? And then try to imagine yourself, if you could personify your brand and your organization, if they were to walk into a room, what would they look like? What would they sound like? And I think that visual really helps crystallize what type of voice you should be using. So that's when kind of circling back to the language and does this person have an accent? Do they have are you a luxury brand that has this like foreign mystique to their voice, right? Or maybe you have a brand that's kind of very family friendly. It's kind of like friendly guy next door type thing. A trusted advisor. You need to understand who's your audience and who do you want to be. And then usually there's a character out there, an archetype of what that brand actually should sound like. So, I'm not sure it's necessarily male or female in any particular situation. I think more to the point, it's who are you and who are you trying to reach?
I think that's really key. And it's always fascinated me because Heartrepreneur, while we have 26% male clients, our colors, our branding, a lot of it is really designed more for a female audience. And when they said, do the radio with a male voice, I remember I was driving in my car one day and I heard it and I thought I wouldn't have paid attention to that. So I always found that very interesting, and I wondered whether or not it was the right voice for what I'm projecting. And I think that's something really important. I really am fascinated, I have to tell you, well, number one, at how many voice talents you have, and number two, at the like kind of matchmaking that's done, because I think that's what's absolutely brilliant. I have listened to some audiobooks recently. I'm so auditory. And the person reading the book, it didn't match the way the book was written for me. because I'd read the book and I'm like, doesn't match. And I think this is something so important. And the fact that you can match that up and figure that out is critical. So what do you have to say to that at voices.com?
Yeah, I think it's often a very subjective experience as well too. So if a business owner is going to select a voice for as their audio ambassador, right? It's a representation of their organization. They really need to consider, just like you were questioning, is this sound like me?
Yeah.
And in which case, that's why an audition process, like what happens on voices.com, is a great experience of itself, because you can listen to 10, 15, 20 different voice talent reading a portion of your script. So it's not just one person doing it. You're kind of, getting to actually compare people. And some of them are going to just add their own personality to it, but they're also going to try to interpret what they believe, because they're professionals. They do this all day long.
Right.
And they've read hundreds, if not thousands of scripts, and are trying to draw out the qualities and characters that they believe that you're looking for. So, in the end, it really is not the eye of the beholder, but the ear of the beholder in this situation, that every person does really need to listen and determine for themselves, what do we sound like?
One of the things I'm jazzed about as you're talking is that audition process. I have had voiceover talent for many of my books that have gone, to Audible. And initially, my publishers were always choosing the voice talent. And I would listen and I'd say, well, that's not exactly the way, like, I would feel the book should be read and whatever. I didn't pay much attention. However, if I had auditioned people, I'm sure I could have found somebody who would have reflected the messaging in the book more like me, and I think that would have worked better. So the fact that I can partner with voices.com, listen to some auditions, and then get the right talent for the book, like, that's huge. That's absolutely huge.
For book publishers and those producing longer form content, when it comes to the audition, it's important to have a longer audition, because the book might be 4 to 5 hours. It's not enough to listen to 15 seconds, right? Can the person stay in character if there's multiple characters? Can they, do they have, it's often compared to a marathon versus a sprint. Do they have the stamina to record at length? And this is why you can, again, look at, other profiles or see other work, but that audition really will give you the confidence that they can carry it all the way through. For commercial work, again, phone systems or something shorter, like an internet video that might just be these explainer videos, as I referred to. A shorter audition is completely acceptable there, 15 to 30 seconds. But for that longer form content, you really do want to listen to maybe a minute or two if you can get a talent to provide an audition like that. Most of them know that that's kind of, par for the course, if you will, that in order to demonstrate their full capabilities for those longer form pieces of content, that they do tend to provide a longer audition.
I'm excited about this. It's a fantastic service for authors, speakers, trainers, entrepreneurs, anybody who has a website. I just think it's fantastic, and it certainly has application in corporate, because we do some corporate coaching and consulting as well, and I can see our corporate clients using this as well. So I think this is phenomenal, and they simply just go over to voices.com. Yes?
That's all that needs to happen. Go to voices.com. You can sign up for free. And as I said, it really all starts with posting that job. So whether you're, have a job in mind now, or maybe one coming down the pipe in the next couple of weeks or next couple of months, I would encourage you to sign up for free and get that account and then post the job when you're ready.
That's awesome. Well, I am going to sign up for free. I have another book coming out, I think in September or October, a few months down the road. And I would like to have a new voice talent that really matches me. So I love this service. So I'll be going to voices.com. Any last words of wisdom that you want to leave our listeners and our viewers with, David?
Is your business struggling?
You want more leads, you want to convert leads more easily, you want more revenues, more profits. Whatever your biggest business challenge is, we're here to help you. We have a proprietary proven process that's guaranteed here at Heartrepreneur to help you increase your revenues and profits. And we have the ability to help you overcome your biggest business challenge. Simply send us an email to Terri, Terri, at Terri Levine, Levine.com, and we will show you how we can help you overcome your biggest business problem by doing a customized blueprint just for you. Whatever your problem or challenge is, stop struggling, stop the frustration. Let us help you so that you can have more money, more freedom, and more free time in your business. Do it now. Send the email now.
Well, I think, no matter what business you're in, I would encourage you to do a few things. One, go deep on that space. It's what's worked for us. It's what I recommend a lot of other entrepreneurs that I'm either advising or interacting with. Find that one slice of the world that you are tremendously passionate about. And then, as I say, just go deep on that. At the same time, surround yourself with incredible people. Share your enthusiasm, pass that vision along, and other people are going to be following you and joining you along that journey. So I would encourage those listening to do those two things. Go deep and join others, bring them along that journey with you.
I love that concept, and it goes very much with the advice that I give as a business consultant. Stay in your lane, go deep in that niche, and really focus there and get known. So thank you so much for joining us here today, and I really want our viewers and our listeners, take advantage. Go sign up for free. I'm going to do it at voices.com. David, I really do want to thank you. It's a phenomenal service, and I'm so glad that we were able to understand it better because I know a lot of our viewers and listeners can use it. So I want to thank you for being with us today.
Thanks so much, Terri. Yeah, the pleasure was mine.
And for our viewers, for our listeners, just a couple of quick things. We do have a totally free educational webinar for you. Be prepared to take a lot of notes. It will help you get more leads, close more sales, and make more money. And that is for free over at TL, like Terri Levine, tlwebinar.com. And then the other thing that we invite you to do, and we invite David as well, is to join us in our Facebook group, which is Heartrepreneurs with Terri Levine. And we have lots of free training there, lots of interviews, lots of exciting things happening. So we hope that you'll join us there. So thank you again for tuning in here today at Heartrepreneur Radio and TV, and we will see you next time.
You've been listening to Heartrepreneur Radio, maximizing your personal and business results by leading with your heart with your host, Terri Levine. This show is produced every week for your enjoyment and education. To make sure you never miss a single show, add us to your favorite RSS feed or subscribe in iTunes. You can also read Terri's latest blog posts at www.heartrepreneur.com/blog or follow Terri on Twitter at MentorTerri and on Facebook.com/Heartrepreneur Terri Levine. Your questions and comments are always welcome and appreciated. Send them to Terri on either Facebook or Twitter. Thank you for listening.